Welcome to Eskimos, your go-to channel for tales with a little more edge. In today's episode, we're unraveling the mysterious life of a man who shook the world and changed the face of the Mexican drug trade forever. I'm talking about a guy who was larger than life, a true enigma, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Brace yourself as we bring you 15 mind-blowing facts about El Chapo Guzman. We're going deep into the cartel underworld, the escapes, the billions, the madness. Now, when you think of El Chapo, you think cartel boss, right? But this guy, he wasn't just some shadowy figure whispering orders from a hidden bunker. This dude had influence, real power. I'm talking Forbes magazine's list of the world's most powerful people 3 times. That's right, El Chapo, rubbing shoulders with presidents and CEOs. He wasn't just controlling drugs, he was influencing economies, politics, you name it. It's almost like something out of a movie, you know? But it's real. And it speaks volumes about the power vacuum he was able to exploit. This wasn't just about drugs, it was about power, pure and simple. Let's talk about the drug empire El Chapo built, because this wasn't some small-time operation. We're talking massive shipments of cocaine, heroin, you name it, flowing from South America into the US, and El Chapo was the puppet master. Think about it. A quarter of all the drugs coming into the US from Mexico, all tied to this one guy. And the money? Forget about it. We're talking billions, man, billions with a B. Estimates put his fortune at around $14 billion. Private jets, mansions, you name it, El Chapo had it. Now, we can't talk about El Chapo without addressing the violence, the brutality that came with his empire. This was a man who ruled through fear and intimidation. He wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty or have others get dirty for him, and he admitted to it. The guy actually confessed to being responsible for the deaths of 2,000 to 3,000 people. It's a stark reminder of the human cost of the drug trade, the violence that plagues communities, destroys families. Now let's talk about El Chapo's love life, because even a ruthless cartel boss has a soft spot, right? Well, El Chapo's wife was none other than Emma Coronel I, a former beauty queen. This wasn't just a fling. They were married, had kids together. How could someone so beautiful, so seemingly innocent, be involved with a man like El Chapo? Was it love? Was it power? Was she completely oblivious to the extent of his empire? We may never know the full story, but one thing's for sure. Their relationship was a wild ride. You can't talk about El Chapo without talking about his escapes, because this dude was like the Houdini of drug lords. I mean, the guy escaped from prison twice. Not once, but twice. The first time in 2001, he bribed his way out. And the second escape in 2014, even crazier. This time he had this elaborate tunnel system built right under the prison. I'm talking lights, ventilation, even a motorcycle on rails. These escapes, they were legendary, cemented his status as a criminal mastermind. The guy was public enemy #1, and he just vanished. Now, you might think El Chapo was born into this life of crime, but his beginnings were surprisingly humble. We're talking rural Mexico, a poor family, very little education. Imagine this, a young El Chapo, just a kid, selling oranges on the street to help his family make ends meet. But that's the thing about El Chapo. He was ambitious, ruthless, and he saw an opportunity in the drug trade, a way to escape poverty, gain power. El Chapo's rise to power is a reminder that sometimes the most unlikely people can rise to the top, even if it means resorting to illegal and dangerous means. You'd think being behind bars would slow El Chapo down, right? Wrong. Even in prison, the dude was living large, still running his empire from the inside. We're talking cell phones, special privileges. He even had unlimited access to cocaine. The guy was running a cartel from a prison cell like it was nothing. It's crazy to think that even in prison he was able to maintain his power, his lifestyle. The guy was unstoppable, at least for a while. Now, El Chapo's love life wasn't all beauty queens and lavish prison visits. He also had a dark side, a history of violence against women that's truly disturbing. One story that stands out is his relationship with Zulema Hernandez, a woman he was reportedly obsessed with. They met when she was a security guard at a prison he was being held in. Tragically, Zulema ended up dead, brutally murdered. This story, it's a dark reminder of the control El Chapo exerted over women, the violence that often accompanied his relationships. All right, let's talk about El Chapo's wealth, because this wasn't just a guy with a few extra bucks lying around. Legend has it that El Chapo had so much money that his employees worked in shifts, counting it 24/7. They'd literally sleep in the same room as the money, just bags and bags of cash. And his wife? She was living the high life, designer clothes, luxury vacations, you name it. The amount of money this guy was pulling in was just unfathomable. Now this one's a doozy. Remember when Donald Trump was running for president? Well, El Chapo, being the bold, audacious guy he was, decided to get involved in his own way, of course. See, Trump had made some not-so-nice comments about Mexico, and El Chapo, he didn't take too kindly to it. So what did he do? He put a $100 million bounty on Trump's head. I'm not kidding. The guy was so offended by Trump's words that he was willing to put out a hit on a presidential candidate. It's like something out of a movie, a real-life clash of the titans. Only one of the titans was a drug lord. Let's talk about El Chapo's dining habits, because even when it came to food, the man was anything but ordinary. El Chapo, he liked to dine in style, even if it meant taking over an entire restaurant. I'm talking shutting the place down. No other customers, just him and his entourage. And get this, he'd hold everyone hostage until he was finished with his meal. But here's the kicker. He always picked up the tab, for everyone. It's just another example of El Chapo's eccentric personality, his need to control every situation. You know how El Chapo escaped from prison, right? Tunnels. The guy loved tunnels, and he wasn't just using them for prison breaks. He was the king of smuggling tunnels, connecting Mexico to the US right under everyone's noses. We're talking sophisticated operations. These weren't just holes in the ground. They had lighting, ventilation, even rail systems to move drugs quickly and efficiently. The guy was like a mole, always burrowing, always finding new ways to move his product. Now this story is straight out of Hollywood because while El Chapo was on the run, hiding from the authorities, he decided to meet with none other than Sean Penn, the actor. Yeah, you heard that right. Sean Penn, sitting down for a secret interview with the world's most wanted drug lord. It was a huge deal, a media frenzy. The interview itself was controversial, with some praising Penn for giving El Chapo a platform, while others criticized him for glamorizing a ruthless criminal. Love it or hate it, it was a wild story that captured the world's attention. Here's a twist for you. In some parts of Mexico, particularly in his home state of Sinaloa, El Chapo is seen as a bit of a folk hero. See, for some people, he represented a way out of poverty. He provided jobs, invested in the local community. They admired his rise to power, his defiance of the government. It's a reminder that there are always multiple sides to every story, even when it comes to a notorious criminal like El Chapo. This last story is a real head-scratcher. It involves the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the guys who are supposed to be stopping the flow of illegal guns. Well, they had this operation called Fast and Furious, and the idea was to track guns being smuggled into Mexico, hoping to take down some big cartel leaders. Except it backfired. Big time. The ATF lost track of hundreds of the guns they were supposed to be tracking. The ATF accidentally armed one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the world. That's all for today's episode on Eskimos. We dove deep into the life of El Chapo, a man who went from selling oranges on the street to becoming one of the world's most notorious criminals. We talked about his escapes, his billions, his love life, his run-ins with the law, and his bizarre encounters with celebrities. Stay tuned for more riveting tales about the world's most notorious figures. We'll be back soon with more stories that will make you question everything. Stories that will stay with you long after the video ends.